Hey, what's up, my frequent flyers? What brings you in today? Hopefully it's to learn a little and laugh a lot. Today is another round of one of my favorite videos, the Freaky Fast Trauma Triage. This is where we take a gander at all the oopsies on the internet, like this. And then we just discuss what people with these injuries might present like to my ER, and what injuries and illnesses that I might be concerned about. Squirrel! Before we get started, I wanted to take this opportunity to write a prescription to all the first timers here. Those that aren't one of my frequent flyers. I wanted to write a prescription that I think that will significantly better your life. Now, this prescription is to be taken one time only, okay? And if you take this and follow the instructions of this prescription, that by the end of this video, you will have dropped 20 pounds. The Cleveland Cavaliers will be good again. And by the setting of the sun today, COVID will disappear. Now, this isn't a real prescription, nor is this my real signature. But if you follow these instructions by subscribing and hitting that bell notification, I honestly believe that you will be educated and hopefully even more entertained. And those that aren't,
I challenge you to a duel.
You watch 4 of my videos, 4, and choose not to subscribe by the end of those 4 videos, I'll give you $10 Amazon gift card. But don't worry, I didn't forget about my frequent flyers. If you are already subscribed, or subscribe while watching this video and become a frequent flyer, then you'll be entered into a raffle for $100. The winner will be announced in the Christmas edition of the Freaky Fast Fails Trauma Triage Part 2. At the end of this video, I'll give you my email address, and I want you to put the reasons why you didn't subscribe.
Why? Why not? Why though?
I want this channel to be great.
I must be the greatest! I shut up the world!
I want it to be uplifting. I want it to be encouraging. I want it to be motivating and inspiring.
Yesterday, you said tomorrow, so just do it!
So let's hit it.
Oh my god!
Oh, okay. So we got this female, looked like she was trying to jump over this couch. Didn't quite make it. All right. But first thought, if this patient came in to my ER, I'm thinking rib fractures, okay, bone contusion, lung bruising. She looked to be a young, thin female. Now that immediately increases her risk for what's called a pneumothorax, okay, or a popped lung. Now these are can be life-threatening to common. Okay, sometimes it's even missed by radiologists on x-ray because the degree of collapsed lung is very little. If it gets to the point where this patient has symptoms, she becomes short of breath and we can see significant collapse of the lung, we have to intervene by a needle decompression. We actually stick a needle right at what we call the mid-clavicular line at the second rib. We literally shove it in their body, right? And it's like taking out an inner tube, okay? And that releases some trapped air and allows that lung to begin to be re-expanding. If that doesn't work, or if it's severe enough that we do that and it's not enough, then we have to consider, okay, putting a chest tube in. Now, I remember the first chest tube I ever got to put in, and it was as a medical student in the ER in Las Vegas. And I was invited by the physician to stick my finger inside of this young lady's thoracic cavity and touch her lung. And that was the most mind-blowing experience. And I don't know how I would explain it, but the best thing I could compare it to is like a wet gummy bear. All right, so we got a guy. Oh, yeah. All right. So this guy fell on his right hip, right arm, put his arm to fall. His first thing, his stability was awful, right? So he had one leg on the porch banister, and his other leg looked like on some sort of wicker chair or plastic chair. That is a recipe for fall, right? Have I done it or some variation of this? Absolutely, because convenience is a fast forward button to many injuries. Many of the injuries that come to my ER are just common falls. This guy, if he came in, I'd be worried about elbow, wrist injury because of how he landed. What? So they're gonna fall through the ice. Nope. What?
На, Димона, по голове.
What kind of big? He's straight up getting whacked by a fish. All right, so no injury. Moving on. I don't know if I can comment on that. He was well dressed, so hypothermia is probably not going to be an option. He's actually at risk for falling through the ice, but I don't get that video. And I don't know what the language they were speaking. If anybody knows what language they were speaking, put it down in the comments. And if you are able to translate it, man, you would be a boss. Oh! Looks like I got a Nerf dart right to the forehead. Probably not going to cause any significant injury, but you got to be careful with those things because they can cause direct ocular injury. Those things are made to be as safe as a flying projectile object can be, but anytime you have an open eye and an object flying towards it, you can have corneal abrasion. You can have some pretty significant damage depending on the object. What amazes me is how many injuries come into my ER, but the injuries are to the eyelid and not to the actual eye itself because of how fast that the eye can close. Y'all, our body is freaking awesome. I just became a 90-year-old man. I can feel the kids' pain. All right. So guys trying to do this, I don't know what it was, A-frame teeter. So it looked like he had a direct blow to his right hip, the joint that is made between your femur, okay, and your iliac bone, all right? So that makes up your hip joint. Now, depending on where he hit, and if this kid came into my ER, one, I'd be concerned if he's able to ambulate. If he's able to walk, the chances of severe fracture and dislocation go down, but are still possible. When someone's adrenaline is so high, man, people can do crazy amounts of things. So we want to get an x-ray because that would show fracture and dislocation pretty good. But this kid is going to be in pain. Oh. Oh. Mi cabeza. Ay. Okay, so. Ow.
I hit my freaking head on it. Oh.
Yeah, I'd say you did. Ouch. All right. So he jumped into a pool, and you can see just whiplash to that head. Okay, instant thoughts. Okay, if this guy comes in, he's typically going to come in because he's got headache. If a concussion has resulted from this injury, this patient's symptoms are going to be coming in. He's going to be headache. Common symptoms are nausea and vomiting. Okay, blurry vision. Those are symptoms that he has caused a significant, what we call a traumatic brain injury, right? And there's a gauge. There's major and minor. Concussions are usually classified as what minor traumatic brain injuries, but they are traumatic. It is trauma, and it is an injury to the brain because that brain, when it is stopped by the force of that ice, it is soft tissue, and it goes ding, 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 ding like a ping pong ball inside the head, and it can cause bruising and swelling. And that's what results in this, the nausea, the vision changes, the gait disturbance, the confusion, the lack of, high motor function. If this gentleman did have a fracture, some of the things that we're going to be looking for are signs of that fracture. Sometimes you get blood pooling around the eyes, and it looks like bruising. It's called the raccoon sign. You can have bruising right here behind the ear. As we do an ear exam, we can see blood inside the tympanic membrane. You can also have a leaking of cerebral spinal fluid. That's when you have significant brain injury. I doubt that this kid has that. Most likely he's going to have just a hematoma, a superficial hematoma, which is bruising and a swelling of blood on the outside of the skull without a fracture and potential concussion. The kid's going to be hurting. If he's having any of those symptoms, immediately this guy needs to be seen by a provider. Kids are awesome. I gotta go potty. Let's go. Micturation. Ooh. I don't know what this guy is trying to do. You know, you ever as a kid, you think, hey, if I jump off a roof, I'm going to Mary Poppins this thing. You know, and it never works out. Looks like this guy tried to like parasail in the winter, but on his feet. And he put up the tarp over his head and it ripped back. Now, so he's at risk for significant injury to his shoulder labrums. You can see right here, this shoulder joint is not a joint where we like the hip, where it sits within the bone. This actually just rests on it. What holds our shoulder together are ligaments and muscles. Those ligaments and muscles, they encapsulate and put pressure and they keep that shoulder in. When this force rips that back, easily dislocation, he could have a rotator cuff injury. And the rotator cuff is 4 muscles. It's the supraspinatus, the infraspinatus, the teres minor, and the subscapularis. You can have injury to any one of those. If he came in with that shoulder pain, those are the things I'd be concerned about. We got missed once. Oh, ouch. Yeah, that guy's getting up angry. Ow. All right, so this is a very typical injury, okay? So this is reminiscent of a lot of running backs injuries, okay? They stop, they plant an alignment or a tackler. They come in laterally, boom, okay? We're instantly thinking about injury to the soft tissue, the ligaments of the knee. As this person comes into the ER, he's going to be in significant pain, okay? With that amount of lateral force coming at the knee, major bone structures that are going to be injured is the fibula, okay? That's the outside or the lateral bone. Okay, the tibia can absolutely be injured too. That's that major bone. That's that shin bone that you hit when you're trying to do a boxing gym or you hit it on the edge of a coffee table. One of the things that we're concerned about is what's called the unhappy triad. In the unhappy triad, you have such a degree of lateral forces, you can have a significant sprain or even tearing of 3 major ligaments. These include the anterior cruciate ligament, the medial collateral ligament, and the medial meniscus of the knee. Ouch. So you hear the screams of both the patient and the brakes. You know control is about to be lost. Oh, all right. Okay. So this patient lost control. The tire turned perpendicular. All right. So concerns and injuries that I'm thinking about right now. So when a tire goes perpendicular, that handle becomes a projectile weapon, right? It can cause impalement. That can cause intra-abdominal stomach impalement. It can go into the groin area and cause injury to all the veins, arteries, nerves there if it gets bad enough. Most bikes have those rubber end caps, so that doesn't happen. Older bikes, kids' bikes, that can happen. If this patient is a male, you're worried about testicular torsion, testicular damage, urethral injury because of the cap, the stem, the crossbar of the bike. Man. So the other thing that's really common is anytime you have that dramatic and rapid change, you're worried about finger and thumb dislocation and fractures because although you're trying to hold on, that tire whips at such a speed, it can cause some dislocation of that thumb. Ouch. You know she was scared the whole way down. Hope she's okay.
Have yourself a very Merry Christmas and the happiest of New Year's.
We'll just end it there. That's a great sign up. Okay, here's my email at the bottom. If you have watched this and 3 other videos and you sincerely do not want to subscribe, I want to know why. So here's my email. Shoot me an email. Tell me the videos that you watched, what you didn't like, and how I can improve it. And if you do that and you didn't subscribe and you went through that process, I'll reward you with a $10 Amazon gift card for your efforts because I care that much about this channel. And to my frequent flyers, both old and new, make sure you're subscribed and shoot me a message in the comment below saying you're in. Your name will be added to the $100 raffle prize. That was our second Freaky Fast Fails Trauma Triage. Hope you liked it. Guys, you can also use that email to send me any of your clips that you want to use. It was a pleasure. Time to go. Knuckles, noggin, butterfly kisses, squid pig. Here's a little sneak peek of the Christmas edition, part 2.